Welcome, councillors, and welcome, Councillor Bosley from afar. You're not online yet. Okay, so that was a wasted welcome, wasn't it? Anyway, let's start with a karakia. I had here just a minute ago. Here we go. Nā mihi o tara ki te whānau e hui hui nei. Kia tautaranga Mārie. Kia whakatapua tātou me nā mea. E whakapāno ana tātou. Omi e hui e tahi e. So thank you very much. We will start with apologies. I have apologies from Councillor Macaulay, Councillor Maynard, and I have a possible apology for early departure from Councillor Gray for matters to do with her professional life. So you can probably guess what that is.
It gets too much.
Have a one-liner for us?
So we now come to.
Could I give an apology if I have to leave the room in a hurry? It's 3 days out of work this week. I may have to take some phone calls to work today.
Right. Okay, I understand. Thank you. I was just going to make a comment to Councillor Bosley, but if he's not there, there'd be no point, would there? Anyway, so we come now to conflicts of interest. Does anyone have a conflict of interest? No one. I do, however, with the matter to do with the petition, I will depart the table and Councillor Sadler-Footer will take over for that item. Acknowledgements and tributes. Does anybody have an acknowledgement or a tribute they wish to brought to Councillor's attention? Thank you, Councillor Gray.
Just a brief acknowledgement that Councillor Maynard's not attending today because she's quite unwell, and I just wanted everybody to join in and wishing her a speedy recovery and hope that she feels better soon. And
thank you very much. Absolutely. And okay, so we now come to public participation, and I'm going to withdraw from the chair. There is no one here.
okay.
Probably going to be very, very.
So if you want to call Karen up to do his slides, if they're not having any notification from just maybe this.
Morning, is that Latasha?
Lorraine.
Lorraine.
I was just coming.
Just coming? Okay.
Oh no.
Her car's broken down. Shall we get first to Gary and then come back to Latasha and Lorraine? Given that.
Okay.
So I'm going to speak.
You're just going to speak on your own?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to come and join us at the table, Lorraine, that would be lovely. So good morning. So just so you're aware that during public participation, you have 5 minutes. Amy will give you a bit of a wave at 4. If you use your full 5 minutes, there won't be any time for questions. However, if you finish early, then councillors will be able to ask you any questions that they may have.
Okay.
So when you're ready, we are all ears.
Okay. So good morning. I'm Lorraine Hall. On behalf of Greytown Safety on Main Street, I would like to present to you and your worship Mayor and councillors this petition. It has been signed by 1,469 people in support not to accept the proposal for Woolworths Fresh Choice. Woolworths Fresh Choice proposal is proposed the following of Greytown Heritage Precinct: 1, to undertake demolish a building; 2, undertake new building alterations and additions; 3, to establish a pylon sign exceeding the maximum size; 4, to establish the additional vehicle crossing at State Highway 2, giving Fresh Choice 3 entrances; 5, to undertake associated landscaping and site works. This petition is about safety, maintaining Greytown's heritage, character and values, and retaining the Copper Beach and Lancewood Place. Greytown is a busy, thriving town with a family orientated community spirit. The residents are concerned about the potential change of Greytown and how it will impact on the safety of Main Street, traffic and pedestrians. Main Street is a busy state highway and it's proposed large B trains to left turn from Main Street on site and all vans, light trucks and cars to turn right. There is a number of safety issues for pedestrians and other traffic. The footpath, the supermarket side along the pedestrian crossing of this Main Street Stellable side is a well-used passageway for children walking, cycling and scootering to and from school. Large trucks, we understand there will be 11 per day, which will turn left will be a blind spots for pedestrians and the vehicles at risk. Vehicles queuing to turn right to Main Street onto the site of pedestrian crossings and potentially block the vision for drivers from the other direction. There is also potential safety for ambulance, fire and police with call-outs, and the traffic will be blocked as already described. Greytown will look to lose 2 more valuable car parks. This will impact on the associated businesses. We are also concerned about the health of iconic 85-year-old plus Copper Beech tree and the impact proposed the new driveway and footpath will impose in the root zone. The roots of Copper Beech are shallow, therefore sensitive to root disturbance. We note that within a week of publicly notifying this proposal, Woolworths New Zealand then applied to South Wairarapa District Council for a certificate of compliance for the proposed to remove the Copper Beech tree. We also have concerns for extremely mature lancewoods on site. No consideration has been taken by Woolworths New Zealand to retain this native tree, even though it was recommended by their arborist, and I quote, "It is unusual to see such a large specimen of this native species on the urban environment, and it would be regrettable if it were to be removed," end of quote. With global warming and climate change, it would be foolish not to protect these heritage trees. The pylon sign proposed is a significant departure in size and colour for signage allowed under the district plan guidelines. It is of similar height to the adjacent building. It will be externally illuminated, making it visible from nearby residential properties and contravene South Wairarapa Dark Skies policy. What is the need for this pylon sign? Greytown residents already know the supermarket is there. Visitors can Google. Mr. Mayor, on behalf of Greytown Safety on Main Street and Greytown residents, we present this petition. Greytown is a boutique heritage destination that is easy distance from Wellington. It relies on tourists for its livelihood, cafes, accommodation providers and retailers. We are often compared with quaint heritage destinations such as Akaroa and Arrowtown. Mr. Mayor, we ask you to accept this petition on behalf of Greytown Safety on Main Street.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. Does any of our councillors have any questions for Lorraine this morning? Councillor Olds.
Thanks, Lorraine, for presenting to us and obviously giving us your understanding of how things are. I just read through some of the petition signatories. There was an awful lot from outside Greytown area. And I'm wondering if you had an exact number for Greytown participants in that.
No, we haven't, but I own a business in Greytown. I've got a clothing retail store.
Yep.
And most of my business comes from outside people, outside town, from people outside of Greytown. So that's what supports Greytown mainly is outsiders. And if we change the look of our heritage town, we're going to stop having those people. And there's going to be a lot of businesses that are going to suffer. Now, it's my opinion and a lot of others. One business is wanting to do this, which is going to massively impact on the rest of Greytown residents and business owners.
So, sorry, just in addition to that question was that surely when I see Melbourne, Australia, Sydney, Australia, Brisbane, places like that, do they really understand the issues? That they take the time to read the documentation that would accompany?
On a day, well, I've had the petition in my business and I explained a lot of those things to us. No, the reason those people come to Great Arm once again is because we're unique.
Understand that.
They're not going to go to visits with, no disrespect to Carlton or, Ikapahuna, you know what I mean? Like, we're a destination.
Yep.
And we really have to protect it.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, councillor Olds. Anybody else before Lorraine? Councillor Evans.
Thanks for that. A couple of things, a couple of questions I've got. The 85-year-old Copper Beach, has that been assessed as 85 years old by an arborist? Because certainly as a kid walking past that address in Greytown, I won't say 50 years ago, but I don't know if the tree then was 30 years of age at that stage.
So what do you think is older or
No,
younger?
I'm just wondering as to, if an arborist has assessed that at being that age, or is it in fact younger?
The arborists have implied that it's possibly around about that age. I guess it's unknown to find an age of a tree until you actually cut it down and count the roots.
Right, okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's, yeah.
Right, now, and the second, thanks for that. Now, the second point is, there's, a lot of people and it's obviously there's a lot of people objecting to the plan from the supermarket. What are the alternative options or any other alternative ideas that, people in the community have come up with that, an alternative solution to this proposal, which could work?
Meaning the property 134 in question, or do you mean the supermarket layout?
Well, the current proposal for the property to be removed and then property to become the entrance. What other alternative options or solutions?
Well, I can't see. I also live next door, so my business is right next door. I'm 132, this is 144. So I live and breathe that whole environment, on a daily basis. I think kids are near accidents happening on the crossing. The roads got seriously busier over the years, and on that report they sort of say that the transport's only gone up by 1% in the last 10 years. Well, I've lived there for 11 years and it's massive, particularly logging trains, etc. So I don't think there should be an entranceway at all on that site. I think it should be off the back. And for me personally, there's I don't know what the property section, the number is, but on West Street, to the south of the supermarket, is a brick place. I presume it's an elderly person, it's as neat as a pin. But if Woolworths purchased that property, they could go in where they currently go, offload, do a tight pin turn and off out as they do in Carterton. Right. It's the same thing they do. It's an issue with Fresh Choice's car park. So why should it impact on the rest of the town? They should manage their car park. Even if it means that they're saying it's for the safety of the car parks, or even if it means that they get one of their staff to come out and the deliveries that come out. Why does a small supermarket stay? They should be that better. I'm a small business too, obviously not it's smaller, but there's no, they can manage things better. They shouldn't impact on the rest of the town and safety,
Well, thank you very much. Oh, no, one last quick question from councillor Woodcock.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming. As I've sort of mentioned to you in discussion before, as a long-time professional truck driver, it does concern myself with the congestion on that main road now is bad enough, but my professional opinion on that is the entranceways there is going to make it a lot worse and cause a bit of trouble. Also a bit concerned about this giant sign they want to stick in the middle of town, because I don't think it really fits with what the town is about.
No.
I think I've mentioned to you before, the whole
Woodcock, your question, please.
Passmore estate.
We need, it can only at this point, just a question for Lorraine.
I'll leave it. Yes.
No question? Okay, well, thank you very much, Lorraine, for joining us this morning.
So I've just got a few more added. Who do I give this?
I can come down and take those from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, councillor Sadler Potter. Can we just do a double check? Is councillor Bosley online?
We have.
Yes, I am.
Excellent.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Just to repeat something for councillor Bosley's benefit. The other day when he was online, I think we had some problems sometimes picking up that he wanted to say something. So I have suggested to him call out as well as do whatever people otherwise do. And Amy and I and Paul just keep an eye on the screen and see where we get to with that. Gary, please come up, join us.
I was sick, I was third on the list, someone was before me.
Yes, you're next. You're next on the run sheet. Karen Crowe with an until AA.
Just a little side thing, Colin, ask yourself.
No.
I know, why commercial sections in Featherston are 38% higher than urban, and yet Martinborough and Greydown are only 20.
Gary,
People better consider.
please take a seat. Gary, please take a seat. Okay, so you've got two items you want to talk to us about. What's the first one, please?
It's to do with water and
Water.
for the start, but
Okay, go for it.
this here, which is, are you all happy with the 23 pages of information in this? You all happy? You all happy that?
That's scary. You're presenting to us.
It's okay, I'm just, before I get started, you all happy with the 29% is, we paid $100 last year? We only pay now 129 this year on the $100. You're all aware of that. That's what 29% is increase. You're aware that there's a lot of people out there who can't afford it and it's going to make them suffer. You're fully aware of that and you're fully happy with that. I think that's quite transparent. I think it's good. I just want to firstly just give you a page of this, which is just a bit of your own history. I'll just give you, you can pass a few down that side.
Yours.
Council made a decision to consult. A decision is the act of deciding a settlement or a judgment. Consult is to ask advice or information and to act in accordance with example wishes. We, the people, are the consultant, the one who gives professional advice. That is why South Wales District Council made the decision to consult. You didn't have the answers. Consultation is a bit like deliberation. Deliberation is the act of delivering mature reflection, calmness, and coolness. Mature being completely worked out to perfection. This is where the South Wales District Council has failed the people in this plan here, which I'll show you people up there, because therefore the public consultation will have to be started again and cannot be closed until all information is corrected in there. This also stops the council's deliberation from proceeding until all information is corrected and is perfect. We all know that you agreed with the increases. Oh, hang on. You all know that you agreed what an increase was. $100 goes to 129. Put that page there. I think the public, I was speaking on behalf of the people of this council, would be totally confused now because I think they only meant, they see that you only have to pay $1.20 in every 100 more to get your income. That's pretty serious. Obviously, it's exposed that you guys don't understand increases because your turnover has only gone up from last year, 280 odd thousand or so. Where's the rest of the money? Here is another one to take you. That is last year's income. Well, I calculated off the numbers of people that you said the number of houses, the number of sections. This year's calculation for 23-24 is using exactly the same numbers as last year.
Gary, please,
It's okay.
please sit.
And this is the big questions is where is the 5 million difference? Who gets, who collects, or who takes it? And it's not hard to discuss because we all know that $100 becomes 129, and if your turnover hasn't gone up from last year, where's the difference? Serious, very serious. In fact, I would say you'd have to be embarrassed to walk down the streets. Why did you drop water charge? If you and sewer charge, why'd you drop it when you thought you need it? Why even drop it a little bit? You dropped it. I feel like that's what you're running because you need it. You got more houses. What's missing off that income is all the extra new sections, all the new houses. None of you know how many. Can someone tell me how many ratepayers you got right now? No, you can't. And yet you're sitting here making decisions. You haven't got an ounce of knowing what you're doing. There's the proof. Your paperwork, your own paperwork proves it against yourselves. I don't have to prove it. It's nothing to do with me. You've done the work.
Excuse me, Gary.
Please.
Excuse me.
Yes. Now, I suggest.
Gary, if you say one more word, I will evict you from the room.
Very good.
So you've had your 5
I've
minutes.
got one more thing to say.
No, you haven't. You've had your 5 minutes.
You're a dictator or we
And
democracy?
by right, when it comes,
A democracy or dictator?
could you leave the table, please? I've asked you to leave.
I don't listen to dictators. We're here for democracy. Democracy is.
If you do not leave right now, I shall adjourn the meeting and I will ask the CEO to call the police.
The fact is,
Okay,
you could use your surplus 5 million from last year and add it onto your shortfall.
the meeting is adjourned.
We need to sit and think about that very seriously because you got one serious problem for the public.
Right, we will reconvene the meeting. And are there any actions from public participation, please?
We have no more.
No. There are none. So we come to extraordinary business. For any extraordinary business, please. Yeah, okay. So item B11 refers to better off funding project substitution decision. It's something that's likely to be, Gary, leave the room, please. It's something that's likely to be discussed around about 2:50.
Can we ask the media to leave if they're going to have a conversation themselves?
Excuse me, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So you're most welcome to join us, but you're not welcome to have conversations with people during our meeting. That's fine. Right, okay. So here's the resolution that we accept the better off funding project substitution decision report as an extraordinary business. This cannot be delayed as the decisions included in the report are time sensitive, and this item will be added to the agenda as B11. Do I have a mover for that? I do. Councillor Olds. Councillor Elam seconds it. Councillor Olds, anything you wish to?
No.
Aye. Councillor Elams. Then we'll put the motion that it be accepted. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against. So we will come to that in B11. Is there any other extraordinary? Sorry.
Did we record councillor Plummer's objection? I'll record it.
Any other extraordinary business, please? Okay, let us move on to the community board, where we have Karen Crow to talk about the Payne Farm estate. Welcome, Karen. And welcome. Scott.
I am ready to go.
Go for it.
So the Martinborough Community Board have concerns regarding the management of the Payne Farm estate asset. This was generously left as a bequest, as we probably know, for the benefit of the children of Martinborough. The most serious question to be addressed regards the legitimacy of the very large amount of funds taken from the proceeds of this asset by the council for their overheads. We have reason to believe that a legitimate process was not followed when this amount was increased by 100% some 3 years ago. We're also requesting that the rental arrears owed by the council for the transferred land be brought up to date with urgency. In addition, we are asking that the inaccuracies and inconsistencies in the financial accounts as presented for the Martinborough Community Board be rectified, and that we also be notified in good time of any changes to the leasing and other arrangements. It's not possible for us to carry out our required consultative role on this matter if we are not supplied accurate accounts and information. The above matters, some of which have been raised for years, have now been addressed to the executive via the acting CEO. We are assured that they will now be actioned. We ask that this undertaking be expedited. We look forward to report the next Martinborough Community Board meeting on this issue to hear about the progress on these matters. The next concern we now have is regarding the leasing of the Payne farmland, which at the moment is untenanted. We understand that a tender process based on the recent revaluation has been unsuccessful, and we wish to know what the plan is from here to market and promote this part of the asset in order to obtain a new tenant. This is the main income for the bequest. And we know that the council recently recruited a whole new role to oversee the management of this and other property, so we can see no reason that there would be lack of resource to address these matters.
So just so we're all very clear, can you repeat the two things you're requesting council to do, please?
We're requesting that the overhead charge, this is quite specific on the first one, the overhead charge identified as personnel, which was first introduced in the 2019 to 2020 financial year, had the effect of increasing the total overheads charged by the council against the income of the asset by over 100%, from just under 24k to nearly 49k. The readdress. We request that this charge cease to be applied, as we do not believe it was consulted and approved in a compliant manner. Also believe that the quantum of this charge now means that an excessive amount of this income is applied to subsidise the total operations of the council in a manner that is against the intention of the bequest. Number one, that's the most, and it's the largest amount of money involved, which if we get it back, we can put it to the intent that it was originally, the bequest was originally given for. The second one is the transfer station rental payable by the council for that land. According to our records, that is an abeyance that has been for several years. There's talk about them waiting for it to be revalued, but we suggest that in the meantime, if there's a question of that holding up, that rental being paid and getting up to date, then let the back rent be paid at the previous rate and adjusted for any subsequent increases, because they won't be particularly significant anyway. So we're asking for that to be actioned. And then that we get accurate accounts in future. Recently, accounts have been provided showing variously a sum of 84k and 141k to be the available surplus. So we can't manage the fund and allocate money to people who apply if we don't know how much we've got to allocate. That's how inaccurate some of these accounts have been that we've been provided with. And we request that in future. We consulted 6 months prior to the expiry of any leases on the property, and immediately on the renewal of any leases or other significant events affecting the income or expenditure relating to payment.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll open up to questions. And we'll start down with councillor Elams.
Thanks, Your Honour, your worship. I'll get it right one of these days. Thanks a lot, coming along, Karen, to ask questions that concerns the council. Certainly, Mayor Connolly, the question number one that Karen has got about the overhead costs or the overhead charge, those sort of questions had been raised by the chair of the Martin Borough Community Board in September 2019. Because I think there was two charges at that stage, which council was levying against Payne Estate, and overhead management fees, I think, and for personal costs. There was two different charges, and the question was, why was council charging Payne Estate those amounts, and therefore taking those amounts out of the available distribution we distributed to the beneficiaries around Martinborough. And over that last 3 years, or that last triennium, those answers have not been provided by council to Martinborough Community Board. And now this new community board and this current triennium are still asking the same questions.
Yeah. Councillor Olds.
Yeah, I just wonder whether or not you've had a response from the interim CE with regard to these questions, because I'm not sure while you brought them to our attention here as a council, these are questions obviously that will need to be answered by officers within the council.
That's right. No, we understand that will now occur.
Okay.
I'll keep you informed of.
Good on you. Thank you.
That was.
Appreciate that.
Now, just to double check, councillor Bosley, would you like to ask a question? I'll take that as no.
No, yeah, sorry, no, I'm all good, sorry. Just,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
just, yeah, I'm all good.
Excellent. You're the sole representative from Martinborough here, councillor Elam, so. Indeed. So anyone on this side of the room? Councillor Plummer? Okay. Paul, do you have any thoughts?
In an email sent to the Martinborough Community Board a week or so ago, I did commit to engaging with the Martinborough Community Board over advance notice of lease renewal. So that, if you recollect, is now in place. We're unsure that we do engage with the Martinborough Community Board at least 6 months in advance of the expiry of that lease. Just a general comment around the finances. Clearly, historically, there hasn't been a level of financial reporting that the community board's been happy with. I would like to think that we can get to a place where you can have surety around the financial information being provided. We are audited, of course, and so there's never been a suggestion of any information being presented incorrect, but we just want to make it clear that we will do everything we can to provide that surety. And in fact, we've already conducted a workshop with the community board, haven't we, around the financial information in particular. That's correct, isn't it, Karen? Yeah.
And the benefit of having that workshop where Stefan and Karen attended, was Karen was able to identify that council had not been paying the lease or the rent for Martinborough Refuge site to Payne Estate for a number of years, and she committed to ensuring that backdated rent / lease that hadn't been paid was going to be.
Which is a demonstration of, a demonstration of the value of the ongoing conversation with the community board and a constructive and two-way manner.
Just now waiting for some action.
Could you speak slightly louder?
Oh, sorry. We're just waiting for some action now on the points that we have identified that we do believe need to be rectified. Karen was fantastic. I mean, she explained what she believed the process had been to approve that big increase 3 years ago.
Right.
That it was, she believed it had been raised at a council meeting and debated and approved. We have since searched all the records of meetings and we can't find that anywhere. That's why we don't believe that that process was actually carried out legitimately.
I'll make a comment, but after Storm is,
Because it's all right, I'll make a comment.
absolutely. Yes, thank you.
Karen's presented everything I want to do, so I'm making commentary. The first comment I'll make is that Payne Farm is a bequest to the region and we should honour that. And it is one of the major fundings for us giving community money out to the community. And at the moment, we're not able to do that because we don't know how much money we've got. We can't build a reserve for what we've got going forward. And because this has been outstanding for some time, we think it needs some urgent action. So just an answer to your question, councillor, we do recognise this is to go to the ELT and we have done that. This is just a notification to you as the council that we have made that progress. The second thing is I would like to request of the ELT that we become involved in future discussions around Payne Farm. Now, I will say that at our last community board meeting, we were presented with a document that had previously negotiated situations. And unfortunately, we weren't able to input before that. And what we see is the transition from that document to the preferred solution. That preferred solution has fallen. And we find that perhaps we haven't done enough background work to know what we're doing in this to make good decisions. That's why we as a community board would like to be involved in all those discussions because we think we can lead the community's input into that.
Thank you very much. Well, I just want to do a double check with Karen, if I may. If I understand you correctly, you are satisfied with progress on every one of your issues, except possibly the process for identifying overheads. Can I be reassured that that is the case or not?
No, the amount of overheads taken from the proceeds from the Payne Farm is still sits as it has been for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
As far as we're aware, we're asking that that be reduced back to the rate it was prior to that period. It was doubled about 3 years ago.
Right.
We don't believe that was a legitimate process.
No, well, that's why I said I thought you were broadly satisfied with progress and everything except for the overhead.
Overhead, there's also the arrears for the rental for the transfer station. Last time we spoke, we were told there was a ledger. It was a ledger amount. I'm not sure what the accounting term was. So it's not actually showing in our accounts that I have seen.
Yeah.
Apparently it's been put in some ledger pending a revaluation of that property and then it would be paid. That's my understanding.
So
what you're saying is please pay it.
So my understanding from you was that the refuse site issue was in the process of being resolved.
Yes, but very, very slowly. I think there's about 3 years of arrears from memory. And they're saying, well, we'll pay this when we get the revaluation of the site, which is not an easy thing to do. A refuse, you know how valuations work, they appear like with like. I don't know how you value land for a refuse station when there's not that many pieces of land. So anyway, the excuse was when we have that revaluation, we can then set the lease, we can then pay the arrears.
Right.
And what we're saying, please pay the arrears. And we will make that adjustment if there's any extra rent payable when the new valuation has been made, but please pay the arrears, because my understanding is that they haven't been paid.
Right.
Not in our account.
Okay. I mean, on the face of it, you would expect to pay rent based on the valuation that was agreed at the time. If it changes, you would expect the rent to change from that point on. But what am I missing?
Clearly, there's two very distinct actions that we can take away from this, and I think it'd just be wise to come back to the community board on those two in particular.
Right.
I don't have knowledge of what happened 3 years ago or discussions that happened 3 years ago, so we can take that and I'll make sure that we come back directly to the community board if that's okay.
Okay. So you can, when will that happen?
I'll work with the finance team over the coming 2 to 3 weeks if that's okay.
Okay. And
Update our meeting next week on a likely timeframe.
Yeah, I'll speak to the CFO later on then.
And when the report comes to the board, can you also include it in your report to the following council meeting?
Certainly.
Thanks. Excellent, thank you. Right, anybody else, don't go away, somebody else might have a follow-up observation. But I think not. So look, thank you, Karen, thank you, Storm, and you're always welcome to come and share your observations about how to make our district better.
Thank you.
Right,
Excuse me, Bishop, just on the previous one when we voted about the extraordinary item, councillor Bosley voted against it.
Yeah, I got that
I just want to make sure you got that because he texted me, wasn't sure if you.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we come to section A9 with the confirmation of the minutes. And there are 2 minutes we need to think about. But one is on page
Page 1.
right. Page 1. So do I have somebody to move that we accept those minutes? I do, councillor Woodcock, and the Deputy Mayor seconds that. Thank you. Any comments, councillor Woodcock? No. Any comments from the room? Okay. All in favour that we accept those minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Now we come to page 6, where I think things are slightly confusing, at least to my simple mind. Apparently, we now have to accept some minutes that confirm some previous minutes. So Amy says yes. So we're on page 6. Councillor Olds moves the acceptance. Councillor Gray seconds that. Any thoughts, comments? All in favour, please say aye. 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 That's done. Now, anything arising from the minutes, please? Nothing? Right, we will move on. So we're now up to section B, decision reports from the Chief Executive and staff. We're on page 70, the annual report. So we have 4 recommendations. The first one is to receive the report on the adoption of the annual report. I move that we do receive them. Councillor seconds that. All in favour, please say aye. 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 So we'll come to the following 3 recommendations in a minute, but this is the opportunity to share your views broadly on the annual report from a wee while ago.
Look, I was on the Assurance and Risk Committee, and I'd like to just let all the other councillors that weren't there that there is nothing to really worry about this. It's very full in detail. I think we just move on and adopt them. We've had a lot of discussions about this, and I'd like to commend our finance team who weren't here at the time for the work and effort that's been put into the annual report. So well done, Karen, and your team.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we'd all understand that.
So I'm happy to recommend 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you.
Yeah, I further to Alistair's comment, I think it is worth noting that this came to Assurance and Risk Committee in that their recommendation was for council to adopt both the annual report and the summary. And yeah, that there were no concerns raised at that committee or by the auditor who was present at that committee as well.
Okay, all in favour that we receive the report of the adoption of the annual reports, please say aye. Aye. Against? Okay, that's carried. So I think we can contemplate 2, 3, and 4 as a job lot unless anybody objects. So we're adopting the annual report, we're adopting the summary of it, and we're approving the carryover of capital expenditure. And I will move that we do adopt and approve. Councillor Olds seconds that. Thank you, Councillor Olds. I have nothing particular to add. It's obviously dragged out a very long time. I thought we'd be doing this in about October/November of last year. I'm pleased to be rid of it. Councillor Olds.
I share your worship.
I'm not sure that's the appropriate term.
It's done.
It's sort of a little history.
Yes.
Okay, we'll open up for conversation, comments, questions. Councillor Elands.
Thanks, Mayor Martin. What sort of assurance, or can we get any assurance that we're not going to be in the same position going forward that we were last year?
We've had letters both from the Auditor General himself assuring us that we won't. And we've also had verbal assurances from our own auditor that we won't, but time will tell, I guess. Karen might be in a position to comment here. I think she is here, isn't she? Yes, greeting. Sorry, I was looking for you in the stalls. I mean, presumably the audit or some aspects of it, this year's annual report have gotten underway, I imagine. What do you think?
Yes, so Audit New Zealand mandate that from this year they would return to a normal audit schedule. However, it would be fair to say there are some concerns about them being able to achieve that. They have sort of satisfied some of their resourcing issues, but I heard that Carterton are scheduled for their final audit on the 20th of September, and that would not leave them enough time to do any final adjustments. So the statutory date is 31st of October, but you'd have to have your financial statements ready within a few weeks before that. So I think it will be very tight, and there is a chance that they will run out of time. We haven't been notified of our final audit timeframe, but we are about to start interim.
Thanks very much.
So there is some risk around that date.
Councillor Woodcock.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have a few little issues, maybe queries. One thing in there, the statement from the auditor that we have fulfilled our responsibilities. I believe this is incorrect, as we're a matter of 3 weeks from the end of the next financial year before we've even got this sorted. I'm not very happy about that. There's a few questions here I might ask Karen later, but there's one thing from the 2021 to 22 year, the rise in targeted rates for just for the water, that doesn't include stormwater, was just over $1 million. So we've had another financial year since then. I'm not sure what the figures are for that one. And then we want to ask for another massive jump in water rates again. I'm not overly impressed about that. Wonder where all these figures end up coming from.
And I think they're all good questions, but they don't strictly relate to the should we adopt the report we've got. But certainly they should be brought up in another context. Yeah, I think we did fulfill our obligations. We had our paperwork.
We did, but I'm saying audited. That was the audit.
That's a very fair comment.
I'm not happy with. But there's things like the all we've heard about since we've come on council is flooding in Featherston. According to the table in there, in the last 2 years, we haven't had a single flooding event. And that's from our own records on basically our KPIs. So I'm not sure how this information ends up in a report where we hear nothing but flooding.
Probably says something about our records. Anybody else with some thoughts, observations? None. In that case, we will move to adopting the annual report, adopting the summary annual report, and approving the carryover of capital expenditure. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's carried. So, at the present time, we are a quarter an hour ahead of ourselves, according to the agenda. Well done, Amy. Excellent. So we come to the section on the speed management, which is item B2. And that is page 151.
It's just that we,
Yes. Stefan, would you like to join us? That way we can hear and speak up. There's quite a loud fan going on behind us. So, well, we don't want people hold either. We don't.
Thank you.
Actually, that's better. Appreciate that. Yep, the floor is yours, Steph.
All right. Morena, everyone. As requested, you now have a full suite of documents in front of you on the speed review. So there's quite a lot of paper there. I apologise for that. But you have the covering explanation, the tech report, the draft comms document that will go to the public, and you've also got the website content. So everything's there. We have a planned approach. You can see the narrative that we're suggesting we use with the community, and the decision today is whether you approve us to enter into the consultation with Cuthton and Marston. So I've got Tim here to answer technical questions, as I anticipate there probably will be some. Otherwise, happy to provide any more information that you need to make a decision.
Thank you very much. Well, let's go around the room and see. Yes,
I just have one question of Stefan. This is done in conjunction with Carlton as well, is that correct?
Correct.
So same document effectively and
Same overarching approach and the document that explains the approach, yes. And then obviously the technical support pertains to our network.
thank you.
Councillor.
Sorry, also just a point of clarification for the situation with Carterton, they've already approved this document to go to consultation, Stefan, do you know?
They've approved consultation, and the final document, consultation document, was to be shared with their councillors informally, just run past them. I'm not sure if that's been done yet or not.
The final document is prepared in front of the council.
Right.
So what was that, Tim?
The Carlton final document is prepared and sitting with council officers.
Yep.
I'm not sure whether they stuff about
Tim, would you join us at the table just so we can hear you a little more clearly, please? Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Right, Councillor Elams.
Just a very one question, and I'll pop into some more questions later on. But with regards to Featherston Primary School, there doesn't seem to be a reduction in speed along Revens Street. Is that a state highway? We got the RTA for state highway. They will implement it as part of their own speed review. So Wakatahi's wanting us to reduce speed, and I agree with reducing speeds around primary schools, but at the moment, they won't reduce the speed along the state highway to 30. I'm not saying that. I'm not able to be told I'll do it at a later date after we've. So I was just a bit confused about that.
But I assume, Tim, they're under the same legal obligations to calm traffic around schools that we're under, or is that not so?
Yes, it's a set process. I think 40% of schools are to be done by the end of 2024, 100% by 2027.
Right. My concerns about this paper are sort of the very practical ones of, we're talking about a consultation process, which means that at some stage we give all of our residents a document, maybe online, who knows how they get it, and they read through this document, And one of the first things they ought to come across is what is it that this council is actually proposing to do? And then there should be a number of questions related to, do you that you agree or disagree with? In this respect, our recent annual plan consultation, I think, was quite crisp and to the point. It basically said, we're going to do a number of things. We're not going to consult on per se, but here are the 4 issues that we do wish to consult on. This is what we propose. What do you think? Now that I think was a very clear, very appropriate process. I'm not at this stage quite sure that what we've got here is quite up to that standard. Would you care to comment?
I think our comms and engagement document is still in draft form. We were waiting to get the approval to consult before we firm that up. And once we do that, we'll take it into account. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so let's assume we give the okay to consult. At what point would councillors actually see the document past its draft stage?
Timelines, we do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
It's powdered and planned.
No, they're ready to go.
The consultation document is ready to go.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Are they waiting for us? Sorry.
Yep.
Are they waiting for us to? So we're going to go out at the same time.
I think, Chair, Your Worship, the information that we're providing online does focus people on 3 points that we'd like them to concentrate on. The boundary of the reductions, whether you'd like a variable or a permanent speed reduction in certain areas, and what they think about additional traffic reduction measures like berms and humps and strips and all kinds of other things. The nature of the consultation is quite a peculiar one because people will focus on particular roads and particular speeds using the maps tool. So it lends itself to people looking at their neighbourhood perhaps first and then more broadly speeds in their area.
Regrettably, what you're proposing there isn't consultation. And so undoubtedly they will look at their neighbourhood, I would expect, for the roads they use frequently. And what they're entitled to is to know what it is that this council is proposing for those roads. We're not inviting a tell us what you think. That's not consultation.
But with respect, Chair, we that's exactly what we are doing. We're saying this road we're proposing to reduce the speed from this amount to this amount. What do you think of that? And then we're providing the text.
Show me in the document where it says that, because I've certainly looked quite closely.
Could I just take that point up there?
Yeah.
I think Martin's comments are that it's not an easy document to read. So when it goes out, if you look at how Masterton's laid it out, they've got these streets from this to there, all the way down. So first document came out to them, it was all encompassing. We've obviously done a great job narrowing it down now to that sort of 1% or whatever you used, but it's a much smaller speed reduction in area in total. It's not clear. Like I've read that document a number of times and it just doesn't come out to me and go, oh, that's what they're proposing. So when you do the consultation part, be very clear on what streets you're talking about. Yeah. And what you're asking. That's what I would say.
Thank you.
The second part I would say is that's slightly confusing. It is the consistency of approach from the safe speed, from the Wakakotae safe speed assessment to what you're coming out with seems to be a bit haphazard. So sometimes it says 30 and you're going to 50, some says you're going to 40, some you go to, and it just doesn't seem to, I can't see why there is a difference sometimes. So that's just a comment. And the same with schools. Schools, why is there a difference between schools? A child's a child. And if we're going to reduce speeds around schools, we reduce speeds around schools, full stop. Why is a country school, why is the life of a country school child any less valuable than an urban child? Because we're saying you can drive 60 kilometres an hour past school down at Karutara, for example, but you can only drive 30 kilometres through town. And I would argue to you probably the Karutara school is probably more at risk because it's on blind corners and so on and so forth than Greytown School, which is on Dead Straight Road where hundreds of parents are dropping their kids off. It just doesn't make sense. So if we're going to protect them, let's be consistent. And it may be a bit of an abundance and there might have to be a bit of a slowing down period before the school. So yes. And then the third point I think is really important is that there's a comment in there that says we're going to do more later. My view is that we're consulting on these roads, the specific group of roads. I don't want this to be a catch-all that says we told you we were going to do more later, therefore we've consulted on it. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Councillor Woodcock.
A couple of things, but just on what Alistair said about Karutara School. We'll have to disagree with your side politely there, mate, because my kids went there for about 5 years, never ever felt unsafe with the kids there.
That's not the point. That's actually not
the kids. It's different than in town. A school like that, they actually drive into the grounds. The kids aren't getting unloaded on the street. Everything is inside the school. And the traffic tends to slow down because of the bends further up anyway. I agree with slowing it down, but I don't know about to the same extreme. I was just wondering about the whole document with this Road to Zero, where the government has changed its view to concentrate on the worst 1% of the roads. Well, all around our schools in Marais would be pretty close to 1% on its own. There's a few other issues with it, but I'm not going to get right into it. But on page 168, 3.2, the four options. Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong one. 3.2, page 173 tells me that they expect all roads to be at 70 k's or less if this carries on and goes to everything for their safe speed thing, which really worries me about how far this will keep going once we start letting the cat out of the bag as such. There are different things which I stated the last time this was brought to us, and different pages, the same information tells us different stories. So if you look at one thing that tells you there's 0.29 deaths or serious injuries a year, not 29 or 2.9, but 0.29. Then other ones give you different information. So we've got to make sure everything is actually on an equal playing field right through the document. Make sure it's not confusing for people.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Woodcock. So what I suggest we now do, there are two recommendations. I suggest we move to the first one, which is that we receive the draft Carterton and South Wairarapa Speed Management Plan report. I will move that. Do I second? I do, Councillor Gray. So this is another opportunity to express your views. I think at this stage it's better to express them and clearly signal to your colleagues how you're likely to vote on, well, the other issue, which is, do we accept the plan? And just by way of introduction, it is in fact my intention to move an amendment to recommendation 2, that in actual fact we send it back for further work, and that we don't approve anything up until the chairs of the infrastructure and community services and the CEO think it's up to the required standard. I understand that there are some time constraints around here. We want to get on with it. When do we have to have our first tranche of sort of notifications notified? It's quite soon, isn't it?
There was a meeting yesterday in Wellington where all councils were there and most of them are at various stages of consultation and implementation. I think there's up and Upper Hutt currently getting ready to engage. Everyone else is down the track further. And I think it's October.
That's what I thought.
The regional transport, regional interim speed plan is approved by Greater Wellington. And discussions yesterday inferred that if we're at the state we have approved the interim plan, they will take it to the Director of Transport for final authorisation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gray, you the seconder, would you like to?
Sure. So I think with this, it's good to not lose sight of the fact that underneath this being a traffic management plan, it's also a health and safety plan. So there's a part in it where it talks about 31 deaths in our region from 2012 to 2021. And of that, 27% of those were where speed was an issue. So probably the ambition of this is to reduce deaths and serious injuries in our region. I think the longer we drag our chain on it and slow the process down, I think the more we potentially leaving room for that to occur for more families. So my intention is to vote that we move this along into the next phase of consultation, also to line us up with Carterton.
Stephen.
Thank you, Chair. Some useful feedback from councillors, and thank you for that. What I'm hearing is we need to take the tables out of the document, which is where we identify which speed a road is going from to. So all that information is here, but what I'm hearing is it's not sufficiently obvious. So I think we can draw those tables out in the consultation documents and make them a lot clearer. And I think that will solve that problem. I'm hearing that where we treat the same thing differently, so where we treat schools, speed in front of schools differently, explain why. And we can definitely do that. Why is Puranawa 60 and another school is 30? Internal consistency regarding statistics. I've heard that a couple of times. So we'll go back through the document and make sure that we're treating the statistics evenly. I'm not having a stroke or anything. Don't worry. Delays. Just I would note Johannes Ferreira's portion last time we met, where if we delay further, then there's a distinct possibility that Carterton will consult without us. That's not necessarily a terrible thing, but it would be preferable, obviously, that we do it jointly. So just to raise that because you might choose to have the final consultation documents run past the chairs informally, Your Worship, so that it doesn't require a formal adoption, but it just allows the process to go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Eland.
Couple more points. Since we're doing this in partnership with Carterton, what is their recommendation? Where are they at with speeds or the recommended speed limits for like the Ponatahi Road, which travels from South Wairarapa up into Carterton District, and also the Longbush Road? Be keen to know, are we aligning with their thinking of speed limits there?
With regard to the two roads mentioned, Ponatahi and Longbush, they are not proposing any changes, as we are not either. The only one on Longbush is outside the Glasson School. The initial proposal was 30k and it lifted it to 60, with the possibility of variable speeds through pick up and drop off times down to 30. Their focus is much aligned to ours around the peri-urban, to the east of Carden and slightly to the west. Thanks.
Okay.
And my last point, Martin, that certainly appreciate we need to move on and get this out for consultation. But when we come back for to a full council meeting for adoption or decision or adoption process, would it be possible for us to have representative from police, road policing, to come along and have so we could have a conversation with them? Because while we are reviewing speed limits and potentially dropping speed limits, there's no point reviewing speed limits and dropping them unless there is going to be some actual enforcement to ensure that the speed limits we're proposing are going to be enforced. Because we could have all the discussions around the table, put all the signs up, yet if there is nobody to enforce our new speed limits, we won't be reducing injuries or deaths on our roads within the South Wairarapa.
Thank you very much, Councillor Olds.
Yeah, I'll certainly take on board what Councillor Elms is suggesting. However, I think that's a conversation for another day. Policing as a general across South Wairarapa is probably a topic that needs to be addressed at some stage in the future by this council in terms of lobbying. But for this particular paper, I don't see the need.
Okay, yes, Stephen.
And through you, Chair, I completely appreciate the councillor's comment, but of course, you can't enforce a speed limit that doesn't exist. So until the speed limits are changed, then there isn't the possibility of enforcement. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to make. Thank you.
So I pick up Councillor Elam's point and Councillor Olds, and I think it would be an excellent thing to do to invite the police along to speak broadly about policing in the area. And I think we can easily do that. And if you could leave that to Paul and I, we will take account of that. So I just want to check with Councillor Bosley whether he has anything to say here.
No, I just enjoyed the discussion around it actually, but no, it's, I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just exercise my right to reply. But one of the things I think, sorry.
Do I have one last thing?
Okay.
One thing that gets me is page 155 states that we must engage and consult separately with Māori. Now, I have no issue with that, but then it goes on to say the persons who are affected by or interested in this matter are all residents and ratepayers and the users of district roading network. So my question is, why is there special emphasis on one part of society? Why is there not also maybe special emphasis on things like the elderly or the school groups or whatever to make sure that we get the right information from everyone over the whole picture?
Well, I think that's an excellent point. And in actual fact, there is a requirement to consult, if you like, separately with schools. Obviously, we have to make sure in this process that we have heard what schools think about the speed restrictions outside those properties. But equally, we've also got a requirement to do the same with Marae. And normally, the easiest way to do that is to speak to the people who manage the Marae, which is not always Mana Whenua, incidentally. Sometimes it's, sometimes isn't. So I think there are some good reasons why we need to double check that whatever we come up with is in accordance with the law. But there's no restriction on who else we wish to consult with, and I would think it would be very sensible to make sure that groups that represent elderly people, mobility scooter users, etc., were all given the opportunity to get there. So, yeah.
Just for you, Mr. Mayor, it does come back to our security obligations as well, the Treaty of Waitangi. So we have an obligation to be able to engage under the treaty. So, but that's certainly not exclusive. You know, we would seek to glean feedback from all segments of society. Certainly.
Okay, let's go to recommendation 1, moved by the Mayor, seconded by Councillor Gray, that we receive the draft Carterton and South Wairarapa interim speed management plan report. All in favour, please say aye. 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 Against? Okay, that's carried. So now we come to recommendation 2, which is that we accept the plan and approve community consultation and engagement. As I intend to move an amendment, I won't move the original motion. So do we have a mover, please? We do, Councillor Gray, and seconded by Councillor.
Seconded, but with a slight variation to it.
Okay, so Councillor, right.
I don't need to speak any further. So.
Okay, Councillor Plummer.
I'd just like to sort of add the words subject to the chief executive and Aidan approving the consultation document.
Right. Okay. So that's an amendment that we add those words. I will second them.
Sorry, I didn't.
Okay, subject to the chief executive and the chair of the CIS committee approving the consultation document.
Co-chairs.
Co-chairs, sorry.
Not all
God,
in one.
good God, I landed at the Green Party.
I'm keen to share the workload.
Woken up in an alternative universe.
Okay, excellent. So we'll speak to the amendment, which is to do with making sure we get the sign off in a rapid process. Councillor Plymouth?
Nothing to add.
Any? None? All right. All in favour of adding those words to the motion? I'll get Amy just to read them out again.
I accept the plan and approve community consultation and engagement subject to the CE and co-chairs of the Infrastructure and Community Services Committee approval.
Right. So at this stage, we're voting on the bit after the subject to, etc. Steph.
Sorry, Chair, could I confirm that that's intercessionally, that's not in a formal meeting?
No, it's not.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, but it is a formal approval process. Okay, so all in favour of the words being added, all in favour, please say aye. Aye. Okay, so now we come to the full motion itself. So just my comment is that when we accept the plan, I'm not 100% sure that we're totally clear what the plan is that we're accepting, but it seems to me important to, when we go to consultation, that people know clearly what it is we are proposing. And I think the simplest way to do this is to say that we propose the recommendations that are in the document. So when we look at the tables, for example, what we often see is, for example, page 188. We've got Ben Avon Grove, it's existing. Is 100, it's safe and appropriate speed is said to be 30, the proposed speed limit is 30. I think what we need to be clear is at the moment it reads as if this is Tonkin and Taylor's recommendation, and what we have to do is to accept it as our proposal so that people are clear what we are actually asking them to agree or disagree to. Now, the fact that we do that, you might look at that personally and say 30 Ks on Ben Avon Grove is a bit silly, but that's not the point. If enough people say that it's silly, then we will ultimately change it in the light of consultation and our deliberations. It's just that we have to be clear what it is we are proposing from us, not from Tonkin and Taylor. So I will also move an amendment to the effect that the consultation document is clear that the proposals come from the council. Do I have a second? I do not. So that, oh, I do. Sorry, thank you.
What was your proposal there, sorry?
That we make it clear that what we are proposing is the council is proposing it.
I think, Mr. Chair, that by giving the sign off to the chief executive and I think and our other co-chair, that's exactly what we're doing, because ultimately we are still the authors. So
We have some legal requirements about consultation.
But it'll be going out as we are consulting. It's not common.
No, you can't say we are consulting. You have to say in your consultation, we are proposing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure of the rationale behind us having, I guess, ownership of the document or the consultant's speed management plan review as against what the community will see. I guess that's, they make recommendations, I guess, and they are our consultants. We engage with, we pay for them. So ultimately it's a council document and we claim ownership to it. So you just, I'm not sure.
We've got to lay claim to a proposal, and the rationale is just that this is the simplest way to go.
Okay.
Since we've got a list of roads.
I don't have a problem either way, quite honestly.
Right. So can you read the?
So you just want this tacked on to the end?
Yes, please. So we'll just get Amy to read it, please.
Yep, so to accept the plan and approve community consultation and engagement subject to the CE and the co-chairs of the infrastructure and community services approval. The consultation document is clear, the proposal comes from council.
So that was moved by me, seconded by the deputy mayor. Any further comment? All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? It's carried. And therefore that is the end of that item, and I propose a 5 minute.
I couldn't agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think we're still ahead of time.
Very good job on the.